crafters, this is Raquel with Paints and Glitter, and I finally have for you my video showcasing the Tonic Studios Ferris Wheel. Here it is in all its glory, and I have to say it is a nice, beautiful final result. Mine is going to be a little bit different than others that you may have seen, just because I wanted to incorporate a different kind of look. I wanted it to be nice and glimmery, as is my style of crafting, with a little bit of whimsy. So here you're going to see some of the shine there that it picks up because of the embellishments. So added some embellishments from Maggie Holmes. That is also the brand of paper collection that I chose to use for this one in particular. Here you see the side view, and it's just so beautiful. So I'm going to be sharing a full tutorial on how I assembled this with my pointers, as I always do, given my experience, but it is a really fun set to put together. It is laborious, so I'm going to warn you now that you may want to do all of your paper cutting one day and then your assembly on another day. However, following this intro is going to be the assembly, and I hope that you enjoy it. Thank you for watching. To begin, I'm going to share with you how I have decided to assemble the Ferris wheel. If you want to take a screenshot, you'll be able to fit all of the pieces on one side of the magnet. So I want to say thank you to the person who posted that screenshot on the Facebook Tonic Studios page, because that came in very handy. Now, the instructions are also made available with your own die set. So it tells you how many pieces you're going to need and some light assembly instructions. Now, some of it is optional. However, what I've done is taken note of how many pieces of cardstock I use for some key pieces here. This one here, I managed to cut out of 3 pieces of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and that's in inches, and I wanted to take note of that because in the US, that is the most common piece of cardstock that we find, other than the 12 by 12. And then this other little carriage here, which is what gets turned around on the wheel, of course, which ends up looking like this. That one I cut out with 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So I'm going to share with you step by step how I'll be putting this together. First thing that I wanted to note here is that I cut out my pieces out of the base cardstock, and here it is. In 110-pound cardstock, mine is a very light blush. It looks cream in the video, but I cut it out. I went ahead and used it one more time to cut out the layer that I'm going to be placing right on top. So if you see here, here's my base, and then I used it one more time. I just cut away that little edge, and that's going to be my top layer. I've cut this out using 2 different kinds of cardstock, this mint color and also this floral color here, and this is Maggie Holmes cardstock. I just thought it would be a lot of fun to just go ahead and mix and match it. However, if you note here, there's the metallic cardstock that you see peeking through there, which is from Tonic Studios. On this layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be layering these 2 pieces here, not on top, but behind it. And these 2 are cut out using these dies here. Here's the top one, and then here's the bottom one. However, you have the option of either using these on their own, or you can use these here. If you see, it's the same shape as that bottom one, and then this one's the same shape as the top one. So you could either use these on their own, these on their own, or if you want to, you can layer these one on top of the other and then create an even deeper effect. Sorry, this would go on top. So it's up to you how many layers you want to add to your Ferris wheel. I've kept mine quite simple, so I just wanted to note that. Another piece that you can cut out is this one here. I've not used it in this particular assembly, but if you were going to use it, what you would do is actually place the piece of paper on the back here, and it would fit perfectly so that you can have a shadow to this gorgeous detail there. The little carriage that you make only has one option as far as the decorations that you place on the outside, and that is whether you do only the solid piece, and you'll see that here, You can do this one on its own, or you can layer it with this one. If you cut these two together, you're going to get a really pretty elaborate layering piece, and that's the same for the other side, the shorter edge. Cut the base piece 2 times out of this gorgeous cardstock. It's a cream cardstock from Tonic Studios. I've cut it out twice, and as you see here, I've cut it out again out of this pink cardstock, and that's what I'm going to layer right on top of here. And then using those side panels, I've cut it out of this beautiful green cardstock, and I've also cut it out of that pink one. The green one I layered on top of that pink one, and then I used Nuvo Drops to decorate the centers there. And then I'm going to adhere these together to create my little piece for the inside of the Ferris wheel. And then I'm going to keep layering. So let's begin, and that way it'll all make sense. I'm going to place adhesive back here. I'm going to layer this on top of my 110-pound cardstock. And you want to do this also because of the fact that this is so elaborate that you're going to need a thicker cardstock behind it so that it's nice and sturdy. Once you have that placed on here, you can turn it around and then place some adhesive on the edges of these elaborate little cutouts. I'm going to use the glitter cardstock, and I'm just going to layer it right there, and the same with this one. Okay, and if you see, it fits perfectly. So now I can turn it around, make sure it's lined up perfectly, and I see that I need to take 2 little pieces away, so I'm going to use my little pokey tool. One of the hearts that you can cut out, and this does come with 2 different kinds of hearts. There's this one, which is a little bit wider, and then a thinner one. Now you can place this right on the back as I did before and have it like this, or you can place it on the front. I just went ahead and placed it on the front just to make it stand out a little bit more. So I'm just going to add adhesive to this and adhere it right on front, just like that. Okay, so that's one finished piece. I've also taken an acrylic block and placed it right on top just to let that dry and make it nice and flat. Here are all the other pieces that I had already adhered together, like so. And then here's the other ones. Dry adhesive there on that edge. I'm going to remove it, place my little line of glue, and then I'm going to aim the next one right on that edge. Then I can burnish it, can make sure it lines up on the back as well, but it looks good to me. Okay. And then I'm going to continue on doing the same pattern of applying glue. Now I use the dry adhesive just to give me a quick tack, but I rely on the wet adhesive because it actually bonds the paper together and it gives me a nice strong hold. Because this is a heavy project, if you have red liner tape, then you can definitely use that, but I would continue to reinforce everything with wet adhesive. Don't rely on the dry adhesive because temperature changes will cause it to dry out and then it'll fall apart. So here we go with the mint green. And this is super easy to assemble once you have all of your layers together because you're only using one line here that you're actually having to pay attention to. So there's no folding that you have to worry about. cute, very whimsical. I'm going to go ahead and assemble a second one, and I'll be right back. So I'm going to repeat that again. Once you have your decorative pattern paper on top of that nice sturdy cardstock, you're going to see that you now have those pieces on the back. To cover those up, of course, you can cut them again and adhere them on the back. So you can get these two and these two, and then all you have to do is flip it over and use your second piece to layer right on top, and it's going to give you a nice finished inside of your Ferris wheel, and it'll also make it super sturdy because you're using 2 layers of 110-pound cardstock and then your decorative layer as well. Put one of these together, and I'll share with you how I went about doing that. Like I said before, using the base piece, I cut this out twice. One, of course, with the entire piece of paper, and the second time only using a partial piece so that I could only cut out this decorative portion here of paper, which I'll now layer right on top. You can do the same thing on the inside if you want to. That's really up to you. Then using the die, of course, with the layering pieces, I went ahead and cut this side panel with that green layering portion. It's just so pretty and decorative. And of course the little Nuvo drop, which by the way was in Carnation Pink, is what I used here in the centers. So now to put this together to make an actual little carriage or box, I'm just going to place adhesive on this center portion, layer this one right on top so that it matches, and then make sure that it's straight, nice and straight. Once I've got that clear, I can fold in the side tabs that I've already placed dry adhesive on all 4 sides. I can just fold those. And then I'm going to take apart the lining there, the backing, and then meet up the corners. Just hold it for 1 second. Need a total of 6 of them. So here's all the other ones. So you can see I did them the same way that I just showed you. You can set these aside for a moment. Using these 2 dies from the set, you're going to cut out a total of 6 of each that look like this. You're going to notice that they all have little score lines, so you're going to want to fold them away from you, every single one. And I've used just the leftover pieces of paper that I have from other projects in nice sturdy cardstock. So I'm going to fold all of the sides first. And then what I did with mine was that I colored them with alcohol markers, believe it or not, to match my project. And then I colored on top of that with some of this mica mist. So I just opened the little bottle and used the mica mist that was inside to color mine, so that way they'll have a nice glimmery finish. But before doing that, of course, the idea here is that you're going to create these little cylinders, and all you have to do is take the portion that has the little notch on the 2 sides Of course, having folded it away from you, apply your adhesive there, and then fold the other portion on top of it. To do that, all you have to do is fold this in half, and they should meet up perfectly. One into the other. Apply your pressure. And then what I did was, to make it easier, once I had it nice and flat, just use my bone folder to burnish this, make sure it's nice and straight. Okay, I'm going to do that on both pieces. Again, applying the adhesive on the shorter one. Fold your paper over and burnish. Okay, so once you have that nice and dry, you can kind of pop it open again, and it's going to look like a little straw. So this is going to help you assemble your Ferris wheel. Okay, you're going to do the same with the other one. Let it dry overnight if you can, and that way it'll be nice and sturdy for you to do anything else to it. So set that aside. For this, what I've done is that I've used the large piece. It looks like this. I've cut it out of 110-pound cardstock, and then I layered the decorative piece of paper on top. All I did was cut away the bottom portion there, so I wanted a full coverage. But it also comes with this layering piece here. In that same die, I did 2 more in 110-pound cardstock. I also covered it in the decorative piece of paper, cutting away that bottom edge. I used my layering piece, and with that I cut out this gorgeous paper that has little kites all over it. Then I also used, which create a layering piece that's very intricate and pretty. So I cut into this piece here that has the gold. I wanted to fill in here. All I did was use the same die again, this decorative one here. I cut into this background, and with that I was able to create inlay pieces. I did the same with the blue cardstock, so that's how I was able to add that heart in the center. And then if you look closely, I also added little Nuvo Drops just to fill in certain spaces, and that way I could have an added bit of shine, and I think it looks absolutely stunning. On the back of this, what I want to do is, as you see here, I cut out, using that large die again, a piece of chipboard that's lightweight, and it's about the thickness of a cereal box, but I'm going to cut away that portion at the bottom, and this is because I want my project to be nice and sturdy. It's just a personal preference, of course. So I'm going to cut away that bit there, and I'm going to layer it behind that one that I layered the decorative piece on here. In lieu of adding a lightweight chipboard, you can definitely just adhere a couple of pieces of heavy cardstock. I am using 110-pound cardstock, but I just like to make my projects nice and sturdy, especially 3D projects. So this is how I'm going to go about it. As you can tell here, there's this bottom piece that's going to create what will be essentially like a hinge. I've added double-sided adhesive to it, and that's going to go along with these 2 pieces and a base piece. Here, one is going to face the bottom, so no one will really see it, but I like my projects to be finished, so I did use the decorative paper. Then I layered it onto this thick paper here. I'm actually going to do it again. This is, again, that 110-pound cardstock. I'm going to layer that on top. And again, this is personal preference. You do it as light or as heavy as you like, but it is recommended that you have a nice sturdy base to anything that's going to move. So here's where I'm placing that. And before I cover it with this decorative piece of paper, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my side pieces here, backing. Okay, And I'm going to apply my wet adhesive as I've done in the past. So dry adhesive is just to get me a start. And I'm going to line this up right on this edge here. And then I'm going to overlap it, just making sure that it's nice and straight. You can do it from the other side as well if you like. If you feel more comfortable doing it this way, you can do it like that. Okay. All right. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. And of course I want to finish the inside, so this is where I'm going to place my other piece, but I need to eliminate this border first. To cut these side pieces, which you'll need two, you use this base piece. I've cut it out of 110-pound cardstock. I cut it out again of this gold paper and just layered it on top by removing the 3 edges. And then I cut it out of this piece here, just that little decorative portion with the glitter. Finished inside. Okay, that's what that looks like now. So pretty. There's the edges. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside. Now that my wheels are complete and nice and dry, you can see they're nice and sturdy, and I did add a little bit of shine on the back here and there. What I'm going to do is start connecting this. Take my little dowel, point it in here, kind of push it a little bit, but don't bend it. Once you have all your little sides there, you can push them back. What I'm going to do is add a tiny little drop of hot glue to ensure that that sticks. I'm going to do it like that and then kind of push it back, just like that. And I know it's unsightly for the moment, however, I'm going to make sure that this is nice and covered. So I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, nice and flush. The next one. Okay. Making sure this has a seam. I want to make sure it's facing down. Can't see it over here. That's okay. All right. So I'm going to add my little drop of hot glue on the top, on the bottom, and then I'm going to push that flush, pinching it there, pulling away any strings. And I can finish it off with liquid glue. And press. Now you have something that looks like this. And this took me all of maybe 8 minutes to put together all the little dowels. So you want to take your time. And now I'm going to put my little carts right in like this. And I've got hot glue strings here and there, but this is what I think is going to work easiest, is thread them through like that. They're facing because they're all going to be turning about anyway. And now you can feed in the dowels on the other side, but like I said before, I want to make sure that my colors match. So I'm just going to lift it very quickly, and I see that I've got green here, or mint, so I'm going to match that color on this side as well. So I'm going to try to thread that through, and I think what I'm going to do is fold these in a little bit first, then feed it through. It's a method to everything, just to make it easier. And I said this one was my mint on the other side. So then I'm going to take my mint on this side and feed it through. Just pushing it in gently. I'm going to do that all the way around. Push it through gently, making sure all those pieces, see, that's why I pushed it in. Make sure all the pieces are facing in first. Okay. So as soon as I've got it in there, now I'm going to go ahead and use my hot glue to secure these little tabs. And it's going to be super easy because it's not going to move as much anymore. And do that one. Would be about that size. I don't think they're big enough I don't know why they made them so small. So, to me, that's okay for reinforcement. So go ahead and use them since I cut them out. But I don't think they're big enough to cover, as you can tell. Forcing this, then I'm just gonna lay them down. Stretch. Now we're going to add our wheel, which is now decorated and finished. And what I did was add the little hearts all the way around just to cover up those little circles. And yes, there are two sizes of hearts. There's one that's a little bit thicker on the outside, one that's narrower. So I recommend the thicker one because I wasn't able to cover up all of the little tiny corners. However, I'm gonna have to just go with it. And now I don't know if I'll get to edit this out of the video or not, but I had said that you needed 6 of these dowels, the longer ones. You only need 1. And you do need 2 of these circles here. This is going to thread through the center. So let's go ahead and start it on one end here. And that's going to meet the center of the wheel. Just be nice and careful because you want to be able to thread it all the way through to the other end. You're going to push it, but still be gentle. And if you meet any resistance, just try to be careful not to push it too hard. Okay, because you're not going a very long distance. There we go. So now I'm just going to push it so that it's even on both sides. And that needs a tiny little push there. Okay. So I'm going to put the little circle on first. Okay, there we go. And then that's going to glue onto this pretty decorative circle here that's got this almost like a wavy edge. So I'm going to set this down gently. Okay, now I'm going to open the tabs. Okay, now cover this with hot glue. It's quite generous there, and I'm going to center this as well as I can because I'm going to press on it, make sure it makes full contact here without touching this base. So it's a good idea to place it that way. Okay, and of course you can decorate this portion if you want to. Now I'm going to flip it over. Okay, not making sure there's no glue touching that bottom piece. My circle on top. And then on top of that, I'm going to place this piece, and I'm going to allow this decorative portion to face the outside. So I'm going to fold this out first. You can use your wet glue first if you want to, just on that little inner perimeter so that it makes contact. Pull on it and make sure those little tabs touch it. Just like that. Once you've got contact there, then you can follow it through with hot glue. Oh goodness, and make sure it doesn't leak over the edge. Okay. I'm going to place this right on top, try to center it and pinch like that. Number 1 because it's holding everything nice for me, nicely, but I'm also doing it so that you can see it in the video. But then you're going to cover this up with this pretty decorative layer. Just make sure that it lines up with what you've cut. Okay, add your glue and then match it up. And this way both sides are nice and pretty. Okay, and this is going to be your handle now, where you're going to be able to twirl your Ferris wheel, but you want to make sure, see, that this side portion, okay, it's right in the middle. And Here we go. It works. It is so pretty. I'm going to make sure that everything is nice and clean, and I'm going to just finish decorating a tiny bit more, but I think this is absolutely stunning. And if you have enjoyed this tutorial, if any part of it was useful to you, feel free to leave me a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and click on that notification bell for new videos. And as I always say, I hope that you can be inspired and be blessed. And if you stuck through this entire tutorial with me, I truly appreciate it. And don't forget that there will be affiliate links on this video for not only the Ferris wheel, but some beautiful papers that you can use to decorate it and all of the other items that you will need for this project. Thank you so much for having been here. Bye-bye.